long before the first cities rose from the earth. Before the walls, markets, and streets we know today, there was a time when humanity's only shelter was the wild, and our tools were born of stone and fire. Before the cities, life in the age of stone and fire takes you deep into that untamed world, where survival was an art, courage was a way of life, and every sunrise could be your last. Join us as we uncover the mysteries of our earliest ancestors. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a journey back to the dawn of civilization. Before the cities, life in the age of stone and fire. The sun had barely risen over the wide grasslands, its golden light spilling across the dew-drenched earth. Smoke curled lazily from the smoldering remains of last night's fire, and in the middle of a small clearing, a cluster of huts, built from animal hides stretched over wooden frames, stood like quiet guardians of a sleeping world. This was 7,000 years ago, in a time before skyscrapers, before engines, before written words. Life was simple but never easy. People lived in small bands of perhaps 20 to 50 members, bound not by paper laws but by blood, trust, and the unspoken need to survive together. Before the village fully stirred, 3 men and 2 women, experienced hunters, were already moving silently toward the nearby river. Spears tipped with sharpened flint gleamed in the early light. Their feet knew the ground, avoiding dry branches that might snap. The air was heavy with the scent of damp soil and wild herbs. Somewhere, a herd of deer grazed. Finding them could mean food for the whole group for days. Hunting was dangerous. A single misstep could turn predator into prey. Wild boars could gore, wolves could stalk, and even a startled deer could break a leg with one swift kick. Yet the hunters moved with quiet confidence, following the faint tracks pressed into the mud. Back in the camp, life revolved around the hearth. A large fire ringed with stones. Older members, no longer able to join hunts, kept the flames alive and shared stories of the past. These stories were not written. They were memorized and spoken, passed down like precious treasures. A tale of the Great Flood, a memory of a star that burned bright and vanished, a warning about the black cave where a bear once lived. These were the libraries of their time. Women and younger children gathered near the river to collect water in clay pots hardened by fire. Others searched for edible plants, wild onions, berries, and roots. They knew the land's secrets, the poisonous leaves to avoid, the bark that could ease pain, the seeds that could be ground into flour. Their tools were made from what the earth provided: stone, bone, wood, and sinew. Every flake struck from a flintstone mattered. It could be a blade, a scraper, or a spear point. Making tools wasn't just survival, it was art. Some were carved with animal shapes, perhaps to honor the spirit of the hunt. At night, when danger lessened and bellies were full, the village sometimes gathered in a large cave nearby. The walls there were painted with ochre and charcoal, bison, mammoths, handprints. These images were more than decoration. They were prayers, memories, or perhaps a way to speak to those who would live long after the gone. There were no clocks, but the sun and moon told the time. No written calendars, but the blooming of a certain flower or the call of a bird marked the seasons. Illness, injury, and childbirth were always risky. The village healer, often an older woman, knew which plants could soothe fever or close a wound, but sometimes, despite their best efforts, people were lost. Death was met with rituals, perhaps a body buried with a necklace of shells or a small pile of favorite tools placed at their side, in case they needed them in the next world. Despite the hardships, there was joy. Children played in the dirt with sticks as toys. Lovers met secretly near the edge of the forest. Around the fire, songs were sung in languages we no longer know. Every sunrise was a blessing, every hunt a victory. They lived in a world where survival was the only job, and nature was both friend and foe. A time when humans were not masters of the earth, but simply part of it. And though millennia have passed, the spark that kept them alive, the desire to protect family, to create beauty, to tell stories, still burns in us today.